here. So, okay. There's been a lot of talk about this. I didn't really look at the original clip. We can look at the original clip right now. There's been a lot of talk about the Star Wars sequel, the new trilogy with Daisy Ridley. One, I want to say that I'm super happy that Daisy Ridley's coming back to play as Rey in the new Star Wars movies. I did enjoy Daisy Ridley as Rey. I did not enjoy how she was kind of written, but I did enjoy her playing the character. I do want to look at the clip. We can go over the clip. I know I'm late to this. I know I'm late to this, but I think it's still good to kind of go over it a little bit here. So I don't even know what it's look up. Star Wars. What if I just type in new Star Wars director interview? It should just be something short. So director hates men. I don't know about that. That's the here we go. I think this is the clip that we're looking for.
What is
this is in 2015?
Activating a force for change.
Wait, this is in 2015?
But also trying to permeate that patriarchy, that power structure. And is that a part of the calculation of your art as well? And what's been the reaction to that?
Oh, absolutely.
So she's the new Star Wars director.
I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable. Not you, just
not you.
not you.
Point taken. Point taken.
But it is important to be able to look into the eyes of a man and say, I am here, and recognize that. And recognize that I am working to bring something that makes you uncomfortable, and it should make you uncomfortable because you need to change your attitude. And it's only when you're uncomfortable, when you're shifty, when you have to have difficult conversations that you will perhaps look at yourself in the mirror and not like the reflection, and then say, maybe there is something wrong with the way I think, or maybe there is something wrong with the way I am addressing this issue. I like to make
Obviously, this
men
is taking her out of
uncomfortable.
context, taking what she says out of context a lot. I don't know. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't really have a problem with her saying that. I don't know what movies has she, says woke director. What movies has she? She isn't making anyone uncomfortable. All she's doing is driving away customers and her employees. Employers will be upset with her. Imagine a male director saying the same thing. I enjoy making women uncomfortable. I really enjoy making women uncomfortable. I think there's a different connotation behind it, though. I get what this guy's saying. I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a little bit here. So I get what this guy is saying, and if a guy says I enjoy making, but with historically men have been on top, right? And with women, they've usually been on the bottom of the totem pole. So I think what she's saying about making men uncomfortable is putting a woman in a man's role, and a man wanting to see a woman like that. A man wanting to see a man in that role, but instead of seeing a woman in that role and making that comfortable. Also, I'm very naive in what I'm about to say, so I'm gonna say it with, just take my words with a grain of salt. I just feel especially in other parts of the country, women's voices aren't really as loud as they are in America. So to have an opportunity to speak in a situation where you want a woman to stand up to a man, I get it. That's it's like a power fantasy for women in some ways. Again, I'm kind of speaking with some naivety behind it, but I do want to, that is something that I feel is represented in a lot of what's going on in today's society. I do also think it's important that we don't make Star Wars woke. A lot of people are taking what she said here or what she said in the past and kind of like, I guess, like scared that like Star Wars is going to turn into this very woke fantasy movie. And honestly, I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Until I see it, then I'll do it. But they keep saying things like, we'll take on the beloved sci-fi franchise in a different direction. Like, what does that mean? Why do we want the franchise to be in a different direction? Do we want Rey to be that beacon that's being in a different direction? I'm gonna say what I always say. I know it's gonna sound horrible, but if you make it good, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do with it. If it ends up being just a good movie, because it's not that people don't like empowered women. It's not that people don't like woke messages. It's that people don't like when it's written poorly. That's the thing. If you tell a good story, if you want to tell an empowering story of women standing up for themselves and taking control and being independent, you can tell that story in a way that people will love it and like it, right? But if you tell it in a way that's just full of exposition and telling people how to think and what to think, and you leave nothing to inferring, then people are gonna hate it, and they're gonna be mad at it. There are tons, I mean tons, of example where women are portrayed as the main character and they do all the things that these other woke, I'm gonna put quotations around that, women do, and yet they aren't hated. What's one that I can think of like off the top of my head? Let me see. There's a YouTube video that does this way better. That did a whole video on it that I really enjoyed and like. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna steal his examples. Audience hate bad writing, not strong women. There we go. So like Vi from Arcane, great. The what's it called? Hawkeye. Freaking that one movie with Tom Hanks where he died and had to come back and was constantly going back, or even the Terminator. Like, look at all this. Like, it's not that everyone hates bad writing or bad women in power. It's that they just hate bad writing. Like, Arcane is all about women fulfilling the roles of men. Like, Vi is a brawler. She's just a fighter. She acts like a dude half the time. And then it's about Jinx and Caitlyn, and like the guys are kind of just the side characters. I mean, you have Jace who's in the story, but he's not nearly as prevalent as Vi is. And yet people love that movie. And it's because Arcane is written well. But if you just tell the audience this person is strong, then they are going to hate it. If you give a person all of these great traits and qualities and yet they still feel like a victim, they're gonna hate it. Why would they care about this character who's perfect at everything and yet still cries about their life? But when you have a character like Vi from Arcane, who blames herself for her inabilities to think past who she is, that's relatable. When Vi is this character who punches first and asks questions later, and you see the benefits of acting that way, but then you also see the downsides of acting that way, you can relate to that character, and you can understand that character and be part of that character's life, because it resembles your own life. But when you have a character who just picks up things naturally and who has no problems and isn't, oh man, how do I say it? So like people like Mary Sue's, right? I don't think there's any problems with the Mary Sue if it's written well, but I think it's easier to like a character who's good at one thing and has flaws than it is to like a character who's good at a bunch of things and is upset at the world, or the world doesn't like them, right? Like if the flaw of the character is the fact that the external forces don't like them, and not so much that their internal conflict creates external issues, then that's whenever you have problems with people unable to connect with these characters. And I think that's the biggest thing with this movie is you can have Daisy Ridley come in here and she can be a badass. She can be the leading protagonist. She can start, she can be the Luke Skywalker that we wanted, where she starts the new Jedis. And I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna say something wild. The new Jedis. What if she's like, only women can be Jedis, and she does something like just wild like that, right? And it's all about like women empowerment and making sure women have what they, do what they can do. If it's written well, if the internal conflict of the character creates external issues, it will be a beloved Star Wars film. It will be liked by everyone. But if it is all about the character showing how great they are and how much the world is trying to beat them down, it's kind of hard to relate to that. And I think the issue being is that a lot of people compare themselves to what they see. A lot of people, especially in society, I'm not saying everyone does it. I'm not saying you watching here do it, but I think a lot of people, they look at someone who has something better than them, and then they're like, why are you upset? You have something better than me. The grass is greener on the other side. Whereas in this case, if someone has a flaw, if someone is just a well-fine blade and they're good at doing one thing, like how Vi was in Arcane, she's just good at punching and her whole character is surrounded about punching. You see all the issues that are created if you just punch everything. And I think that's important, is a character needs to be good at one thing. We can have a defining character trait, and with that defining character trait, you create issues, and how they solve those issues, they have to get creative with how they solve those issues with their one defining character trait. Whereas just being good at everything, any issue that comes up, they're just able to solve it. Which is probably why we liked Finn so much, is because Finn was just good at one thing. He's just good at shooting and fighting. He's just a soldier. He didn't know how to fix things. He didn't know when Rey was telling him, hey, here are these tools. He wasn't charismatic. He wasn't a good liar. He had to have help from BB-8 to lie. Because Finn had so many flaws, we liked him for it. We enjoyed Finn. Even though they're in the same movie, we felt nobody got mad at Finn. Everybody loves Finn. And it's not because John Boyega is a better actor than Daisy Ridley. It's because Finn's character was a finely sharpened blade that was good at one thing and bad at just about everything else. He couldn't fly. He didn't have charisma. He was bad at lying. All he could do was shoot. And even whenever he fought, he lost. But the thing is Finn's story arc about overcoming fear, finding the courage to fight and stand your ground and go against what you're afraid of, even when the odds are against you. That's an awesome freaking story. His story arc is great, and he found purpose in that. But even as a flawed character, to go against everything that he's bad at and still do it. I mean, Finn does nothing but take L's all movie, and yet we love him. So it's not about winning. It's about creating those internal conflicts into external issues, and how the character uses their internal, what they're good at to solve those issues in their own creative way. That's what it's going to be about, and that's what's going to make the movie good. But are we going to get that? I don't know. I'm going to hope for that, and if I don't get it, yeah, it's going to suck. So